Hello and welcome to another episode of The Third Wheel. I'm one of your hosts, Hamish.
And I'm your other host, Aaron.
And today we're joined by Jason, who is a friend of Aaron. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, this is my cue.
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Kitenge. I'm not sure where to start. I guess my name, and I kind of introduce myself by the things that I spend my time doing. So I spend a lot of my time full-time working at Pocket, which is People of Color in Tech. I was recruited to the tech startup to run the business side, and I spend some of my time working on Pamoja Network, which I'm sure we'll end up talking about, which is sort of we're basically working with African-based startups, to connect them to talent. And then I spend the rest of my time trying to enjoy my life. So
it's a good mix. I think it's good to start off with like how we kind of know each other. I don't think we've actually ever like formally met in person.
Nah.
I don't think so. It's only been like over like WhatsApp and stuff.
Yeah.
So you went Warwick as well, Warwick University.
Yeah.
Same as probably, I don't know, 95% of our guests maybe. I don't know. Basically University of Warwick podcast.
Don't say that. We're going to get sued by them.
Nah. An unofficial University of Warwick podcast. What did you study at Warwick?
I studied accounting and finance, so I was in the business school. It was a funny one, you know. So I came into Warwick thinking that, weirdly enough, before I got there, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go into investment banking, which was a weird mindset to come into. And when I got there, I realized, like, towards the end of my time at university, that I really didn't want to do that at all in my life.
Yeah, because you're not in it like at all, really.
Exactly. So I was just like, it was weird. So I chose accounting and finance or econ. But I think I was very, very big on politics and international development. So I actually spent a lot of my time at Warwick between like building and joining societies to being on the football team and stuff like that, but really engaging in that kind of stuff. So it was a bit strange. I didn't really like the course. I think it's always like that. There was like one topic that we had to study, which was the best thing, which was like something called critical issues in management. And used to talk about like power, ethics, used to talk about like all these kind of things. But like outside of that, yeah.
So like two questions on that. Why did you want to go into investment banking like before uni?
Yeah.
And then did you do any kind of internships or anything during uni that made you kind of switch away from it? Or was it just a kind of feeling?
It's weird. So I forgot that I actually wanted to go into investment banking. What happened was I was shamelessly wearing my football kit to my local pub back in London. And one of my friends from college had asked me, oh, are you, and on the back was like Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And he was like, oh, are you working for investment bank now? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh, I remember you used to talk about it. And I think it really came from because at school, before I even got to college, I was very big on like business. So like in secondary school, I'd won the Business Studies Award. So I really like trade and stuff like that. But I kind of like assumed that all trade was like finance, even though I was more entrepreneurial by spirit. So yeah, when I actually got to Warwick, I was part of the rat race of applying to roles and stuff like that. And I went to Coots, and then I didn't get another internship. I went to work in this private equity place.
Coots?
And then, yeah. So it's the private bank. It's the one that the Queen has an account at, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a shout out, yeah.
I just realised that, you know, and it actually compounded. Once I left and I joined a consultancy and started working in the city, I just realised. I think there comes many points when you're like, is this all there is to it? So yeah.
Yeah. And then you mentioned there as well, like how you're wearing your football kit to a pub in London. Is that the Warwick football team?
Yeah, but to be fair, it was after going to goals. So it wasn't like I was just walking around in my...
That's a bit more acceptable. Is that how you know then, I forgot to mention it, you were actually a call out as well from Josh Banks?
Yeah, so funny enough, when I was at St. Dom's, I'd actually played Josh Banks because he used to play Sunday League in the Harrow area.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually knew Josh from, not really knew him, but I played against him when he was at John Lyon, and I played against him before when he was playing at Parkfield. but I only became friends with him on like week 1 of Warwick when I was like walking to my football trial and he was walking back because he lived in Arthur Vic and I lived in Jack Moore, which is like next door to each other. And then we had a quick conversation, became friends since then.
And you know Z as well?
Yeah, Z was a strange one as well because, again, I played against him when he was at John Lyon and I was at St. Dom's. And the first day I went to Warwick for the open day, we were stood next to each other. And then he was like, oh, I'm from Harrow. I was like, I'm from Harrow too. Where are you from? And I never forgot each other.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, cool. So during university, I guess if we could take this like chronologically, I forgot what year we kind of got in contact with each other. Maybe third year, second year, maybe.
I think it was just after we graduated.
Was it? Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. And yeah, so that was about Pamoja. Am I pronouncing that right? Pamoja?
Yeah.
Pamoja Network. When did that start? I'm assuming that started like during university or towards the end.
It's a bit of a strange one. So towards the end of university, well, in my second year going into my final year, I was co-founding the Africa Summit. So me and like 2-3 others got together originally and were like, there's all these different forums, but there's not an Africa Summit. And like, it's a big topic that we should be discussing in terms of like everything that's going on in the continent. So we started to work on that. And then off the back of that, I thought, hey, like I want to continue to do work like this. And then I started to think about it just after I graduated. But it was a bit messy in terms of how it started and what it is now, two completely different things. It started as like, I don't know if you guys are aware of like the Black curriculum. So like, it's basically like this really like, it's got a lot of traction in the last 2 years or so, but it really talks about sort of Black history and embedding it into UK schools. So it actually started off as that. The team at the time and I had taken a trip down to a school, an independent school, and pitched them the idea. And they were like, yeah, we're really interested. But I felt like I really wanted to do projects that had more of a footing on the continent. So then the idea completely changed away from being curriculum UK based to now kept iterating to now being a sort of startup centric, where we really want to build a community of African startups and connect them to sort of fellows and talent to help them support in scaling and growing.
Yeah, awesome. And yeah, I wanted to put it, if you do this chronologically then, so Warwick Africa Summit was the first was that the first thing you like kind of co-founded?
Yeah, I think before that I was working on the International Development Society, but it wasn't, you know how sometimes when you work on societies and it's like, you're not getting that, some people are working on it for their CV so they can apply. And I felt like I didn't get much out of that. So the first thing I co-founded was Africa Summit.
Yeah, we had Kiru on, Kiru Mahoya.
Yeah.
Like a little while back. And I remember us talking about Warwick Africa Summit. I didn't realize at the time that you founded it.
Yeah, cool. I did. He's a good friend of mine. I actually catch up with him every now and then. He's building this neobank in Kenya, isn't it?
Yeah. Really cool stuff. And was it just you, or did you found it with someone else?
No, so the actual president was Mo El Tayeb. And what happened was I was in the library. So I'd worked with Mo on WIDS, but I'd sort of left WIDS because I didn't feel like it was my thing. And I was working in the library on starting an internship, which would be between certain departments and institutions on the continent. So like the Panzi Hospital in Congo is run by Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Denis Mukwege, and he basically helps treat women who have been raped and things of that nature. And I was like, if we could set up some kind of internship where people would work in and around the continent who are interested in it, then that would be something that might be of interest to, I don't know, the PACE department or something like that. So I started to work on that, but I was working on it in like the end of my second year, just like during exam season, kind of in and around there.
Yeah.
And then Mo just pulled me to the side. He was like, yo, I've got this idea. I want to do an Africa Summit and I think we should build it. So him, Mo, myself, Ahmed, Babikir basically got together and started to put some ideas down. And then I became kind of it's weird. Like it was kind of a startup vibe. It was like you don't just have the role title itself was like external relations, but like I did everything but the finances, pretty much.
Yeah. Because it's quite a big society now, right?
Yeah, it's 5 years old now.
Yeah. Do you still, as like a founder, I don't know if it's different because it's a society and not like a startup technically, but like, are you still involved in it? Or is it kind of like you founded it and then it's up to like the president and vice president, whoever runs it?
No, it's a great question. So we passed it on. It's strange because this year was the 5th year, right? What's amazing is that it's got better after we left, which is a good thing. So this year I was asked to come back and give kind of a speech at the summit on how we started and where it's got to. And then I have input every now and then if they reach out to me, but it's more like a thing of I prefer for people to run it the way they see fit. And if they need, it's weird, like every few years someone from the current exec reaches out to me via Facebook or something like that, and they're like, can I have the password to, and I'm like, you're asking the wrong person at this stage. But yeah, it depends on whether they need support or not.
How do you start a society? I know that I remember someone,
It was like 30 people or something.
yeah, you
wasn't
had
it?
to get someone to like sign 30 people to sign it to be able to like start one.
Yeah, so we had to do a lot of lobbying, let's say. So we got an advisory board together. I used to meet with the advisory board. They would help push stuff over the line. So one of the key guys was Dr. Franklin Lisk. He was in the PACE department. And it really was lobbying and like a lot of like relationship stuff. So I'd like go and take meetings in uni house with people that I've never met who were like representing like the vice chancellor and stuff like that. And then it was like you have to get the right people to sign off on it, because to be honest with you guys, it was not going to happen. Like we got a lot of pushback, and it was under the impression that it's not needed on campus. They made it very difficult for us to host it.
Who is that? Like the high ups at university?
Yeah, the high ups, and then it only became a thing. I don't know what changed. It was pretty bad. Like we had to get, like I had to go and negotiate for credit lines, like so that people could extend us out money, even though we had, like they blocked money that we were getting from like a particular investment bank that sponsored us. So it was a bit of a challenge, but we had people on our side who were like, these guys are like sacrificing their time and their degrees to like push this thing out. And at the end of the day, like it's still here. So
okay, wait, like a summit is like a convention or something, right? Like,
yeah.
wait, so I'm not understanding what was going wrong in this process, because you brought money.
Yeah.
You wanted, I guess, a venue, I assume. You wanted to book like art center or something, you know?
Yeah. So we booked the Oculus. So I think what happened was anytime something is new, the CEO at my company said he asked me yesterday to search up this thing, which was like no one ever said no to IBM. And it's like in the tech space, that means like companies prefer reliability over innovation. And it's the same thing with educational institution, I guess. They were like, we haven't seen this before. So there's no sample or there's no like example that this has ever worked. So we don't believe in it, basically. And every time, I was fortunate because my side was really working on leading the team, getting the relevant speakers to come in. So it was easier to that extent. The other side that was working on the finances, they were being given the runaround. But I think eventually, once, because people were dropping out as well towards a few days before, we managed to get the vice chancellor to come and speak. And he even realized that, because the actual end of the event, we had about 250 people who arrived and people who came from up across the country. But yeah, it was difficult. I think this is the reason why we started the Africa Summit. It was like, if you guys want to look at it just from, and not even just you guys, I'm talking about like them, if they wanted to look at it from a data perspective, there's no way you're going to be able to avoid the importance of the continent in the next 20 years or so, 30 years. And I feel like that is the kind of disrespect that you kind of get. It's like, no, it's fine. Like, don't just go to the Econ Summit or go somewhere. I've left some of the stories out too, so we'll do that one offline.
Okay.
Oh, don't worry, I'd love to take this beer tomorrow. We back the beef. We back the beef.
Yeah, I love a football analogy, so I was gonna compare it to like a manager not wanting to risk playing a new young player like coming through the ranks, but they'll go with the more experienced.
Yeah. And it's the Euros, man. It's the Euros. You got to take a few wild cards. Like, you can't
Jude
just,
Bellingham needs to be on that plane, man.
This is what I'm saying. You can't just rely on 2 holding midfielders. You got to get some flavour in there.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So that's so Warwick Africa Summit. That was done mid-university, and then towards the end was when you mentioned like Pamoja Network started.
Mm.
When you did start that, was that something that at a time you just thought was like kind of like a side thing, or is it something you would make into like kind of once you leave university to do it full time and really grow into this massive organization?
I think at that point I didn't trust myself to go and run something.
Mm-hmm.
I still had the mentality of I need to get some, like, I need to kind of earn my stripes in terms of I need to go through industry and stuff like that. But then reflecting on it today, because in between I'm explaining this the long way, but in between working on Pamoja, I went to a consultancy and then I joined the cabinet office and now I'm at a startup. I realized that the breadth of experience that I've had in the employer's world is more important than the depth, I guess.
Right, yeah.
And the amount of time that I would have stayed in there. So at the time, I didn't trust myself to run it. So I kind of set it up as something that was of interest. But then as I started to meet particular people and stuff like that and exchange ideas, build a team, the questions around funding started to come up, which I'm still trying to figure out now. But it's become more of a thing of today, what I'm trying to pivot it towards is something that I can at least commit a bit more time to building. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think we got in contact, I think it was around like a rebranding. I think that was the major. Did that ever go down?
5 rebrands ago.
5 rebrands ago. Constantly evolving. So what are the kind of the iterations you've been through with Pamoja?
Oh man.
You said there's been like quite a few.
Oh man. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna forget. So it started as a school curriculum, coming in, doing workshops. I and another member of the team had built out a syllabus to do that. And then when it came to kind of pull the trigger on that, I was like, this doesn't feel particularly right. So we moved from that to, what's funny is, so it's interesting the people that you meet along the way. So I was introduced by a member of the Pamoja team who's not on the team anymore to one of our advisory board members, Conrad Mwanza. So what I used to do was, whilst I was working at Capco, and I think I can say this, on my like lunch breaks, or if I was on the bench, which means that you're waiting on a project, I would like take meetings. So I would like go down to Pall Mall, even though the office was in Shoreditch, and I would meet people around Pamoja and just talk about what I'm trying to do. So I met Conrad Manza. Basically, so I'd met him and he basically joined our advisory board. And what happened at that point was he invited me to a dinner. I hope this all makes sense, but he invited me to a diaspora dinner. And at the diaspora dinner was the brand ambassador for South Africa, a lady called Pumela Salela. And she had worked closely with Nelson Mandela. And I gave a speech at that event representing my now CEO with an award. So life is very weird. Like, I was not close with him enough to like, and I wasn't even thinking about a role. This was 2 years ago, but I presented him with an award. 2 years later, I'm working for him. And then Pamela, who was at the event, the brand South Africa lady, I met with her after to discuss Pamoja, and she was like, you need to strip your idea down. Rather than it being the first version, which was the curriculum, the second version was you do insights. So someone writes a topic and we build a project out of the topic. She was like, what you really need to focus on is blowing out the project element of Pamoja. Make your organization about projects and fellowships. And then she said, once you do that, then we can get back in contact and then we can start to actually work together. So from that, I basically went on and I was like, and I felt terrible for the team that I was working with because it kept pivoting. But I was like,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow this thing out. I'm going to focus on problems and build a fellowship kind of thing, which led to, I guess, what our pilot kind of looked like, which was a startup and pro bono consultants who have supported them.
Right. So just to clarify, by fellowship, you mean what?
Yeah, so there's two ways. So the fellowship is someone with a level of experience. So there's kind of two kind of ways. So the fellowship is an individual with a certain amount of experience, maybe like a mid-career level business strategist, then goes to work one-on-one with a startup who's looking for that kind of experience. So we kind of set that up. Alternatively is what we did in our pilot, which was we speak to an organization who are looking for different expertise, in different areas, and we connect like 4 or 5 consultants, the same way you would have as a project, to them. And how that worked was we put out a feeler to our own network and said, hey, we're looking for people with skills in this, and this area. So digital marketing, business strategy, operations. And then we interviewed some people, and then we introduced them to what the case study was, which was the agriculture firm in Kenya that we were working with, the agri-tech company. And they worked together for about 8 weeks or so. And the team that was running the project basically compiled the findings and gave it back to the company that we were working with in our pilot. Does that answer it?
I think so.
Okay, that's not good then. So a fellow is a person who like has a certain level of experience, who like comes into a problem statement, and he's basically a person basically comes to help with a problem.
Oh, so just a problem solvers, is that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I was gonna say you put some like name drops in that like dinner you were having.
Oh yeah.
When you said as well, like how so you were presenting an award to the person who is now your boss, or
Yeah.
your CEO, but he wasn't at the time.
No.
That's mad. That's small world.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a coincidence? Would you see that? We've talked about this stuff in a previous episode. We had a guy called Ambrose, who's a co-founder of Fanbytes. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah.
And we talked about like spirituality and how he believes in, like, I think he called it synchronicities, or it's called synchronicities, and it's like meaningful coincidences.
I believe in the same, because I like to write every now and then. I wrote this piece about like God and manifestation and things like this, and I think like sometimes it's not this big thing, it's not this like crazy thing to believe in. What it is that if you're living a life of intention, then the probabilities are higher that you're going to come across people who have the same intention. So I don't know, let's say what you guys are doing is you're podcasting, right? So you're probably more likely to build out your network, even the way you're marketing it, like having us shout out people as well. It's like, basically what I'm trying to say is like, I think intention leads the way. Like because had I not had the intention to do Pamoja, then I wouldn't have met Conrad, who doesn't introduce me to another network person. And then my CEO now is actually the cousin of a friend that I went to school with at St. Dom's. So he had introduced me to his cousin and said, hey, bring him along to the dinner if you can. And I was like, sure. And then you just stay in touch. You build a relationship from then.
Yeah, that's wicked, man. And all these people you worked with on Pamoja, was this all like voluntary? I'm assuming it's like a non-profit kind of organization, right?
Yeah, it's been voluntary. I think it's funny because now I'm at the point where I'm actually starting to think about revenue streams properly. And that also requires you to basically need to start to really think about how to do this over a long period of time where people are actually able to get paid. Otherwise, it's just voluntary work, which is fine. But it's like, I read this thing somewhere, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. So if people are not, and I think unfortunately in life, like passion only gets you so far. Like you run out at some point. So
yeah, are there any cool? I don't know what the word is. Like not testimonials, case studies, use cases. Where like Pamoja, like any cool startups that you've worked with in Africa on Pamoja.
Yeah, so no, to be honest.
Okay. Short answer.
So we ran our pilot last year. We're actually about to do a startup with a hub in Ghana, an entrepreneurial hub in Ghana, to do like a new batch of startups. So our first startup was an agri-tech company in Kenya, and it grew veg with soilless technology. So we basically helped this girl with her business strategy. So that was pretty cool for the people to work on. But I think in terms of like what I really want to do is work with like I really want to work with like socially impactful startups, so startups that are working in like healthcare and stuff like that, and have one of them go on and raise loads of money because of the support that we were able to give to them, or and stuff like that. So more to come, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. What is the kind of the future for Pamoja? Like anything? Do you plan on pivoting again, or is this kind of stick with
No,
it?
no. I think the model that we have now makes sense. I think the pivots will be small. It'll just be things like actually building out a platform, and that's not even a pivot, to be honest. It's just adding. I think where we're at now is a good place in terms of the focus really needs to be to build out a network of startups.
Mm.
I just want to continue to speak to cool people who are solving problems and see where we can potentially support them with what we're doing on our side. So I think, yeah, that's the first step forward. I was thinking maybe like last month or so, like we really do go off to university at a time when you're still a child. Like, it's been like a few years since I graduated, and I still don't feel like. I think it's a great time because you meet so many people,
Mm-hmm.
and you get like to do things that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't go to uni, like nothing all day, and not worry about money or anything. But equally, it's like it's a fertile. I remember taking one of the now Prime Minister of Sudan, his personal assistant. At the time, he was the UN Economic Commission for Africa, so he was the head guy for the UN econ stuff. And I was taking his PA around campus when he first arrived. I remember there was a demonstration on about God or atheism or something like that, and I was like a bit concerned just because I don't know what his views are, and I don't want him to be like, you know.
Yeah.
He was smiling at the whole thing, and he was like, yeah, I love this. Like, he was like, just loves the uni environment because it's
I love
just,
this game.
yeah,
Yeah.
young people going at it.
That's just so cool. Like I can't imagine. I don't know who like really the person you're talking about is, but it's just like, just sounds cool.
Yeah,
Like,
it was nice.
the question I was asking before we cut out was, can people get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what I really need to do now is what I really want Pamoja to become is like a running thing of like when you go onto a company website and it's like here are the open roles and stuff like that. I really need to focus on building out our network of startups and then just have like these are the roles that people are looking for to fill in on like a temporary basis and stuff like that. So at the moment on our website there is a get involved form. So go and put your details in that. It's always helpful for us. Yeah, hopefully we can connect the two. I was talking to my friend about Pamoja yesterday actually, and he was just like, I feel like you're in the final step. You spent a long time trying to build the brand, but now it's really time to focus on the startups and stuff. So yeah, we shall see how this goes.
Yeah, and we'll put links to the website and like social media stuff in the show notes for people that like are interested and want to check it out. Yeah, the I was going to ask as well, like how running that startup, like how does that balance out with work? Like, do you find a good balance? And also at the beginning of the episode, you said like spending your time also trying to have fun. So how do you find that balance between three things?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Do you know what's true? So my girlfriend always tells me like, you just make time. Like you'll make time.
If you want to do it, you'll find time to do it.
She believes in my projects, but equally she's like, look, if you wanted to do something, you would do it. And I think that's true. So it just means like, I don't know, less time playing I don't play Warzone anyway, my boys do, but less time on FIFA at the end of the day, and just like an extra hour or two just doing something. But I think it's funny because, and I think this is quite important to say actually. So I actually suffered a lot from like, which I still do every now and then, migraines, but my migraines were quite aggressive in terms of like they would include vomiting and stuff like that. Sorry, it's a bit graphic for everyone. But the reason why I say that is because it was normally amplified through stress. So I've had to learn over like the last 2 years how to manage that level of stress, because it kind of started when I was in the consultancy, when you're working long hours and then you're doing some more work and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's very important because for me, the way my body works is if I'm not listening to it, it will show up physically. So
what do you mean by that?
So if I'm very stressed out, I'll get migraines and blurred vision and vomiting. If I'm also very stressed out, I might have grey hairs pop up and stuff like that. And that tends to happen when I'm not taking care of myself. So listen to your body, basically. Listen to your body. I know you want to work and become, and I say this to everyone because I was actually having this conversation with my CEO recently. Yeah, it's good to be ambitious, but equally, like, you're not, for people who care about you, don't care about you because of your achievements, right? They just care about you because you're a nice person.
I used to have one of my closest friends in like secondary school. He used to get migraines all like time off school. Like he used to take days off school because of migraines. And at the time, I didn't really understand. Like I just thought migraine was kind of like a bad headache. I get it from time to time. He was literally like, he would be off like 50% of the time. And he was like telling us like how he'd like throw up from it and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
It sounds awful.
It's like, you can't like put lights on and stuff like that. You have to like try and sleep, but you also can't sleep.
Yeah.
So, and I also say this, not to make this very depressing, but it's like, you should tell your employers as well. Because when I was in Cabinet Office, I came across a sign which was like, tell your employers if you suffer from migraines, because they're not headaches. And this is the thing about working in industry, right? I know we're going off topic. When I was in finance, they kind of made you feel bad for taking time off because it was such tribalism. It was like, especially in consultancy, it's like they under-resource the projects, but they give you so much work. And it's like when you take time off or you're like, I'm going to do this, it's like seasoned vets in the game of consultancy make you feel bad for taking time off. Like, this is not how we do it. Yeah, guys, don't be fooled. It's your health.
That's actually bad because in my team, I'm usually like, look, you have annual leave, take it. Don't just stack it up for like 20 days and then try to push 20 days over because you're not allowed to do that. So you might as well use it, rest up. Like, the work will be there no matter what. If they're not going to give us people, then that's really their issue. We'll do what we can to the best of our ability. And then, just you make sure you're good enough. Obviously, like, I can't obviously tell them to do physical exercise or whatever, but I'm like, look, just take your leave. If you're sick, just take the day off. Like, don't. A long time ago, I'd be when you're in office, I'd be like, yo, if you're sick, don't fucking come in. I don't want to get sick as well. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Don't come in.
I found that to be I haven't said this in a while, but when I was in San Francisco.
Oh, hello.
It
begins.
I found that like to be a mess. I was at a startup, a really small startup. And I remember asking my boss for 1 day of off work for the whole year.
I was going to say, like, my first manager, who was like my manager for nearly a year and a half or something. Like, I remember when I was like properly sick, like I was on like even heavy medication and I'll be like trying to take a day off, be like, could you please work from home? I'm like,
what?
I logged in and I was just in a state. And I used to do that. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. When it's a sick day, like if I'm like 50%, might as well consider taking the day off or like work half a day or something because there's like, limitations.
Leadership. It's actually poor leadership. It's like, I can't believe that. You also wonder like psychologically how those people are doing. Because there's probably things like, if you're working like that, there's things in your life that you're neglecting, yourself and other stuff. It's strange because I was actually thinking about the idea of the 4-day work week. Obviously, it's in some countries in like I think Denmark and stuff like some of the Nordic countries. And I was basically thinking about that, and Google already they had a version of it. I need to find it, but it was like okay, you're going to work 4 days a week, or you're going to work a certain amount of hours a week, and then we give you 20% of your time back to work on projects that you're interested in. And I genuinely feel like the direction, and I also feel like the direction of like the pressure, and I think it really comes from the wrong goals and incentives of the organization at the top, because the reason why they're making people feel so bad is because targets, sales, competition. But like, I feel like once we move away from that in the business sense, I genuinely feel like people will become more like caring for other people. It won't be about sales and targets and all of that kind of stuff. And it might even be a case of in the future where you get to work for 2 companies at once. You spend half your week at this company, half your week at another company. And I actually think that works better for society because it becomes a lot more collaborative than competitive.
Do you think that's easy though? Like kind of balancing your mind between two companies? Like it could be kind of, I don't know. I feel like it might be hard to, if I'm working Monday to Wednesday, one company and I'm in like doing one thing and then kind of shifting it completely to like a different kind of project or something completely different.
Dude, I think you're right. I think it won't be easy. And hey, who knows? It might be a nonsense idea. But I kind of got the thing from Jack, so CEO of Twitter and Square. He like splits his day into 2. Or at a certain point, obviously, Bill Gates was splitting his time into 2. It was like, and I wonder how difficult it. Obviously, it's the same domain, but like, say if you're like a stock analyst, you need to go from stock to stock to stock. But obviously, you apply the same fundamentals. But I'm just wondering whether people are satisfied in working in just one narrow thing and forced, and whereas they might prefer to like expand their horizons a bit, and what that might actually do for mental health, giving people the options to like, okay, Monday to Wednesday you're going to work at, Thursday and Friday you work at a start. Well, that might also be nonsense what I'm just talking about, because at the end of the day, like, you're helping your competitors, and people might be like, that's stupid.
No, what you said is like a good point in general about working multiple streams, because I'd say like, because other people would maybe say like they work their primary job and they'll work extra hours into it, you know, like, whereas now, for example, I try to do a harder cutoff after business hours, you know, like I don't successfully do it, but I try to do a much more harsh, you know, cutoff, because it's like, you know what, they only pay you to basically get stuff done within those hours. And then there's a line of how much you should do. Like, if you have to obviously complete your task, I agree with that. But there's a line of how much extra you should do, because at the end of the day, like, you need to go have your fun and everything. Like, you'll just be more productive I feel like if you switch things and do it, you know, and especially if you maybe like doing it, for example, and it's going to like, I don't know. You know, when people say like it does the serotonin release, I think it is, like, you're just happy just working something else. So like when you enjoy it, you're more productive, right? So if you're switching between them, I feel like it's just a better balance, but obviously you still need to have a break. You can't just
continue to work.
Yeah.
I think something like 2 different roles within like the same company could work well. As in like, say you're a front-end developer at like a massive company, and maybe that's your primary role. That's on your contract, your front-end developer. But then they also kind of allow you to choose another department to kind of just work in for like a little while, like kind of just one day a week, kind of just get experience if you want in the finance department or the design department or security or whatever.
I actually think that's a better
Sales
idea than the actual 2 companies.
But it only works for like smaller companies. I don't think it works for like massive corporations. Well, at least in my opinion, like you don't get to see much of it happening, because it's like you either switch roles or you do it outside of the hours. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a newer type of,
I thought in bigger companies it'd work better because it's like less obvious you're working on something else.
You'd think, but then it's just like, because then it may start stretching over into your like overlapping roles during the same hours, and then there'll be like a clash, because you obviously need to complete one team's work and then the other team's work as well. And then what happens? Then you just,
I think realistically, sorry to go, I think it should actually work better in big companies, and it would put more onus on HR to like make sure people are in the right place at the right time and stuff like that. It should actually be easier, because in a startup, it's more like things do need to be done by a lot of things need to be done by one person most of the time. So if you could I don't know. Maybe it's just a thought. I think the way we work at the moment isn't going to. It never is the same. But I think it's going to change a lot.
Yeah, the 4-day week. What's your opinion on that? Because I've seen that idea kind of floating around now and then, but I don't know if it's realistic or if it'd even be beneficial. People would like that.
Yeah, I think the concept of having a 5-day working week is a bit abstract. I don't know where it came from. I understand the Sabbath day because we live in a predominantly historically Christian, Protestant Catholic country.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the Sunday being off, but I think it's an abstract thing to have 5 days where you're working starting at 9 or whenever. So, and I think that's what's so interesting about entrepreneurs. They kind of design their life to around something that kind of works for them. Maybe not at the inception, because they have to work a lot harder than your 9 to 5. But then eventually, I feel like you should work. Personally, I wouldn't mind working 7 days a week on something I really enjoyed. Not every day throughout the year, but I wouldn't mind doing that. Equally, I wouldn't mind a 4-day work week. But knowing myself, like if I'm doing something that I enjoy, I'm more likely to work more than 4 days. So
I was thinking like a 4-day work week would mean like, I'm just going to use myself as a potential example here. Like I'll do 4 days my primary job, then the 5th day would be either startup or the podcast, and then the 6th day would be the other one. Then Sunday could actually be a full break day, which would be quite interesting to try. But right now, everything has to be scheduled into whatever slots you have throughout the evenings and the days on the weekends.
Yeah.
So like maybe the 4-day week would be nice, but whether it ever happens here is a different story in coming years.
Yeah.
I know work from home seems to be a big shock to people, but like I'm not glad that COVID happened. I'm glad that the work from home came out of this, because before it was like frowned upon if you just work from home because you didn't want to compete, like 1 and something hours to get
I was
in.
about to say, if you're going to say you're glad COVID happened, that might have to get.
No. I was just going to say, I'm glad work from home happened, like I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Even now, like
it's true. There's been times when I was sitting in a role and not doing much, and it was like, well, I've taken the tube all the way in, and I'm not doing much, like, because especially consulting, it's a lot of face time. So I don't know. I believe in working in concentrated blocks as well, spurts. Like, you don't need to work 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours a day. You just need like a certain amount of concentration. And I think you guys probably know that better than I do as like coders.
Yeah, I do find that. Yeah, it's like I could say like I could work 7 days a week, but like a specific day of the week, I wouldn't be working like 9 to 5. I'd just be kind of like working, might get bored for a bit, might procrastinate a bit, might watch a movie in between or something, and then go back to work. It would be kind of like that rather than 7 days a week, 9 to 5.
Yeah, I prefer to have like bursts. Like these days, I think, I'd rather have like, I was thinking like, what if I started taking like a 2-hour lunch and then work in the shorter bursts here? Because I feel like I can start avoiding calls, the politics, and then I can just do like a burst of work and it may be more effective. Because I swear, like, it's more effective when I do that at the start of the podcast. So I'm like, if I started doing that during my work day, like maybe it'd also be more effective. But that's just...
And it's strange as well, because like you, I have another friend who works in one of the big 4, and he's working. Okay, the salary's good, but they're working him so hard that he has no time to think. And I heard this from another friend of mine who works at a boutique investment bank. He was just like, the problem is that I don't have time to consider other things. Another one of my mates who's left, I think he was working at a hedge fund. He left the hedge fund and he started this like company called Evaluate. It's like it basically uses your banking apps to track your carbon footprint. He was basically like, I was talking to him yesterday and he was like, yeah, I'm about to go get my haircut. And he was just like, my mind is so clear because I wasn't able in the middle of the day to just go on a walk. I had to be at my desk. It's like that freedom in your mind. It helps you like, because I feel like it's undervalued and it's underestimated how much you can figure out about what your desires are and stuff when you just have time to think a little bit or just to take a walk. And I feel like when you're in a role that doesn't give you that, things get cloudy.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely if you're like working on, I can only go by my examples, but like if you're kind of in the zone on working on one specific thing, like trying to build something. You're not thinking about anything else. You're just thinking on that one thing. So it's not, you don't have time to think about anything else. Was that kind of what you meant by the idea and future of work?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, I think that was mainly what had been going through my mind. I think, yes, it's definitely that. It's also the part of it as well is figuring out, because I don't know if we're going to get pensions right by the time we'll get pushed back a lot.
It'll be like 90, age 90 retirement, yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I tell people, like, bro, you better have like, income or save stuff here, like happening, like without you having to do anything.
Yeah.
Me and my friend Waleed, actually, so my friend from home, we were like, so we've had this like plan for years, like, like by the time we're old, we're not going to want to work anyways, so we need to get our money right real quick here, but maybe we need to think like super long term. So like what we want to do is obviously get on the buy to let ladder separately after we sort out, personal situations. And when we can get on the buy to let, once they obviously pay themselves off roughly around our retirement, it should be like aiming just before 60 probably, because working till 60 is just long in it. Like if you're just working a 9 to 5, for example, your entire life. So like if you could have that, background flow start coming in after those start self-paying in, you'll be able to basically chill like around then and, just enjoy a bit more calmer days, because how much more can you really stress your body to do like a desk job, for example? Like this is just an example. It's just like, like a desk job 9 to 5, even at 60. I've seen people do it and I'm like, that can't be me.
It's not me. It's not me.
Let me, chill out the rest of the days, however long it is at that point, because I don't know what our life expectancy is going to be like from inhaling London pollution for most of our lives.
Honestly. And I think that's the thing, like we're going to be working probably for the most amount of time, especially if you don't come from like a background where like there's wealth already. So like myself. So I feel like the idea of work in terms of, and I can't say this for everyone because everyone's got different circumstances, but going back to Warwick and stuff like that, the idea of work shouldn't be about status and it shouldn't be about salary and stuff like that. It should really be, the idea of work should be, I don't know, I was listening to this thing. It's about you stop asking yourself the questions around what it is you want to do and you think about more as what can I provide? So I've been going through this thing where it's like rather than looking at ways to improve your employability, it's just what skills can I get? What do I want to do to solve this problem? So like you guys would have had to learn to like, okay, how do I get this podcast popping? Do I need a microphone? I need an Instagram account and all of these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the idea of work needs to be more, in my ideal head world, would be more focused on like stuff like how do you contribute to problems, basically, because we're lucky to have gone to Warwick, as in not everyone gets the opportunity to do that. So to come out, and this is something that I kind of think about sometimes, to come out and just think about myself in terms of what I want to do. I don't know. I feel like the people who are privileged to go through certain things, their role now is to use their skills to help make it a more level playing field. Well, it's a bit of a paradox because it's like I had to work, so it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was you sent me like your Medium like blog before this, and I was looking at a couple of the articles, and one of them I found quite interesting was how you said businesses. Somebody was saying it was like the social impact, like the moral obligations of a business or like of a CEO or whatever, and how some people might say like the business, their sole purpose is just to make money, whereas it's kind of about shifting that and they can make more of an impact socially.
Yeah, I think so. It's not, I don't think it's too difficult. I think the problem is what we talk about is because the way we feel at times as employees or have felt when we worked in a big company, it's a product of, I think, the article that I tried to write about. It's the ideology that, like, gimme, get.
Mm.
So I think it's kind of shifting it to more like solving, because there's a way to do both. I think there's a way to make money and there's a way to help people. And if you combine the two, then, because most entrepreneurs they probably exit their companies and stuff like that from, they're solving a problem, whether it's like Stripe, for example, that payments company, which I think is going to be amazing. They just like their thing is like increasing the value of the internet or something like that. It's super interesting because they really just focus on making it easier for small companies to receive payments. And that really helps companies. So yeah, I think small things like that, not to harp on about the point, but I think it's super important. I think it's something that we ought to consider. Like, what are we doing for others, basically?
Yeah, a cool thing about cool like side point about Stripe. And if you know about Stripe, I don't know if you've seen Stripe's website. That's almost kind of seen as like the gold standard in like web design.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, whenever someone like, I don't know, someone makes like a design framework, they use Stripe as like a focus point. It's just really nice, well designed.
I think you guys are the coolest, by the way. Sorry, before we go back to talking about myself, I think you guys are the coolest in terms of the web designers. The way you look at things and put them on a page. I wish I had that skill set, that design. So my sister's like an artsy person. I have two, so they're twins. One of which is a dental hygienist. The other one is, it's a weird family. The other one is, one other one's in fashion, so she's like visual merchandiser. Very good with like design and like.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with you. Yeah, man, we're the coolest one. Won't argue that point. You've been learning to program, right?
Oh, I tried.
You tried? Is that like a past tense thing?
Yeah, I tried. So it was weird. I was only learning it to do something particular. But yeah, I think I might go for the low code version. But yeah, I'm not sure. I did one episode of like a coding thing, and I was like, I could do this, but I don't think this is for me.
Okay, fair enough. The last kind of topic we had written down was around the like technology for social impact and Africa. I don't know if we like largely covered some of that. Where do you really start with that?
I just think like if you're pretty entrepreneurial anyway, you're probably looking at technology. You're probably looking to leverage tech anyway. But yeah, I actually think we covered loads of it. I think something that we haven't covered is why like I'm so big on Africa. I think it's because I genuinely feel like it's a very like untapped thing, and it's looked at as like too big of a problem. And I think from when I worked at the Africa Summit and stuff like that, you just continue to meet people who are working in the space and doing really cool things. So like Paystack was on the Y Combinator and got acquired by, I believe it got acquired by Stripe actually. Yeah, it got acquired by Stripe for like 200 million. It's like two Nigerian co-founders, and they were just building ways to receive payments and stuff like that. And like, there's just so many things to do. And I just think it's, I don't know, I have an affinity towards it, I guess. But yeah, I think I've harped on a lot about tech and social impact. It's weird though, I was listening to another podcast and it was talking about like founders and the way like founders think. And because I'm not a techie, like you were saying, I'm not a programming guy. This guy said like founders, they tend to think about like stuff in terms of like philosophy and psychology. And a lot of the stuff that I read is like, well, now is like philosophy, psychology. And I literally downloaded yesterday. I don't know if you guys ever came across the book, A Man's Search for Meaning.
I've heard of it.
So it's from a guy who's during the Holocaust who was taken, unfortunately, to concentration camp, and he's speaking about that topic. So I'm just about to start. I think stuff like that is super interesting.
Yeah, can't say I need to get more into books. That's one of the things I've been saying for years. Need to start reading more. Yeah, it might go back to that like working bit. Like just don't find the time.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things as well. Like the worst thing you can do is pick up a book because you have to read it.
Yeah.
And that was my whole uni experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say I also prefer like practical stuff and visual stuff because like reading a book is just like, I swear I have too low an attention span, and I can see stuff better if you show me it visually, or if I do it practically, then read something off a page.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. I was just like there's stuff I want to read, but I'm just never going to read it because I'd rather watch a movie version of it. Like, if that makes sense.
See, I'm the same when it comes to novels, because my girlfriend keeps buying me novels, and I'm like, I don't want to read like a fiction book. Like I'll watch Avengers. Like, I'm not gonna read it.
Only 2 books I've read where I've been like found it hard to put down, and that was Sir Alex Ferguson and Gary Neville's autobiographies. Nothing else. I tried to get into the novel stuff. Like I tried to, when I finished watching Game of Thrones, I was like, yeah, what do I do now? Oh, you know what? I'll read the books. So I'd like downloaded them all and then just opened the first page and was like,
nah.
Okay, yeah, no, let's leave this one. There's so much
it's like
here.
those Harry Potter books, which are like this thick.
Yeah. I want to read I want to say I've read the Harry Potter books, but I'm just not going to, really, realistically.
Funnily enough, I was turned off by so I read this a few years ago. I'm sure you lot have seen it. I just managed to grab it. Sapiens.
Yeah, somebody on the podcast has showed us that book, but I can't remember who.
Oh, it's a sign. But this is so, normally how thick it is. It took me my sister got it for me. It took me about 1.5 years to at least pick it up. And then when I was on a holiday in Bali, I went backpacking between Bali and Indonesia and Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
I took it with me and I started to like read it. But yeah, sometimes how thick a book is, it's off-putting. It's like, oh God.
Yeah, for sure. You ever got into like audiobooks or anything like that?
Nah, I'm not an audio listener. I am a podcaster, as in I'll listen to podcasts a lot.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson. So I've really been into the high performance podcast. So it's like,
with what's his name? Who's the name? Jake Humphrey. Yeah.
So I've been into that. I've also been into Rio's one, which is Five with Five. Yeah. So I've been listening to a lot of that. I actually like how all the ex-footballers are coming out with their stories.
They all seem to be jumping on the podcast thing though. Or loads of ex-footballers are getting their own podcast now.
I think football is a strange one because your head is down for like 15 years, and then when you're like, a lot of them, when I was listening to some of them, they like didn't even have a clue about their finances. Some of them had to like, Sean Davies, who used to play for Fulham, he had to like sell his house because he didn't have a clue what was going on.
I was gonna say, like, a lot of it is so that they probably usually like would hire people out so they can just focus purely on the game. Like it makes sense for them to be, at their best, not thinking about, I guess, finances when they're in a game, right? Like, or the less the mental weight, I guess, for them. You understand? Because I swear, like, I've seen like, esports here, like gaming esports. I've seen like, even them have like nutritionists, like all these people like doing everything for them just so that they can be the best that they need to be during the games. Like, and it's a bit mad thinking about it. It's like, I could never imagine letting anyone manage anything for me.
It's actually quite funny because this week, for people listening, we're recording on the 17th of April. This week, Phil Foden sacked his social media manager because he had a lot of players now have people like managing their own social media accounts. Yeah. And Gary Neville actually came out and said like that he thinks players should be owning their own social media and like just have a voice for themselves kind of thing. Which I kind of agree. I don't know if that's going to like get them into more trouble with like stuff I
think that's easier said than done.
Yeah, probably.
During Black Lives Matter, I remember there was this NFL player who just said this one comment, which was just poorly timed. And then he just got absolutely slated for it. I think his name was Drew Brees. He was like a quarterback. And he said this comment and it was just like, because the thing is as well, the internet's a harsh place, man. Like, you say one wrong thing and you're done. Like,
they'll just snip a sentence out of the entire conversation. That's like,
yeah. I don't know. If I were a footballer, I know we've all used that line before. If I were a footballer, I would probably stay away from social media, to be honest.
Do you
Taxing
think?
On the brain. Yeah. I'm not a big social media guy at the moment, actually.
Do you think though it like gives the fans like a kind of, I don't know. So look at Ben Foster. Do you see what he's doing on YouTube? Kind of started vlogging and all that. I think that's really cool. But I think he's quite an experienced guy now and knows kind of what he can do, what he can't do. But I find that kind of stuff, I don't know, whenever I see like a player I like a Man United player or something on social media and they post something like inside the dressing room or something, I find it quite cool like to see what it's like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do get you saying where they maybe the dangers of social media as well, they can probably stay away from it.
Yeah, I guess as well, like if you're a player like Kepa from Chelsea and you're in the mud, like he switched his, he fully switched his comments off and everything because you're just being abused.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it depends. This is straight away from.
No, yeah. I was gonna say because NBA players are quite the opposite to NBA players kind of do what they want.
Yeah, LeBron loves it.
Yeah, awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
No, not really. I think it was a great conversation. I think those are the things. It's funny that's going through my mind at the moment. It's almost like a therapy session.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, free trial session over as well.
Cool. So we round off each episode with some final questions, a call out, and then a shout out. So the final questions, first one I'll go with is, funny enough, speaking about like podcasts, if you had your own podcast, who would be your dream podcast guest?
Yeah, I thought about this morning, actually. It was one of two, and then I was like, nah, for sure it would be this guy. It would be Dave Chappelle. I think he's so... It's not even that he would make me laugh. He would make me think. He's just very, very insightful guy. And he says things in a way that is funny, but very insightful. So either be like Dave Chappelle or like Chris Rock. It'll probably be Dave Chappelle.
Okay, so both you would have gone down the comedian route.
Yeah, I think they're highly like... Do you know what's strange about comedians? I think they're like sociologists. Like, they like watch everyone and then tell us how stupid we are on stage.
Yeah.
And then we laugh.
I mean, they've got it. There's so many times I've seen them and I'm like, what they say is like, yeah, I know. Like, I'd relate to it. Like, you're saying exactly what, happens kind of thing.
One of my favorite ones is, I don't know if it was Cat Williams or if it was Dave Chappelle, but they basically said, like, this was the clips resurfaced again over and over, and it reminded me, like, look, if you say oil or something, or you say America 3 times into a mirror or something, they will come knocking on your door, but they'll come with guns and everything. And then if you put it into context, like, it's not even a joke, like, it's jokes, but like, it is kind of true, like, it's based on some truth, and that's what made, like, it's such a good thing to joke about.
Yeah, I was even I remember when I was watching Jerry Seinfeld as well. He was like, it's like when he comes downstairs in the morning, he's like in a game show with his wife, and the wife asks him like a million hypothetical questions that he can't get wrong. And when he's there, she's like, all right, see you again next week. This is funny. Yeah.
There's also the Kevin Hart one when he's like, when you're calling your mate and you need them to lie for you and you use like a term. I was like, why is this so true?
Man, I'm hungry as shit.
There's also one, I don't know, there's a Mickey Flanagan one, I think it was, where he's like, you went to a French restaurant and you asked for ketchup, and I'm just like, that is so fucking me. Like, you know, you just say things that people like don't want to say, but like, no, it shouldn't be wrong, but like, me asking for ketchup shouldn't be wrong.
Yeah.
No matter the restaurant.
Yeah.
But the second question is, if you had to listen to one song forever or album, what would it be?
Oh, this one I'm not sure. If it were a song, this morning it would probably be like Michael Jackson, Human Nature. If it were an album, this is so hard.
You know, I do have to ask you about the Michael Jackson. Do you still listen to him after the...
Yeah, because when I was even watching the Dave Chappelle thing, so I don't listen to R. Kelly. Like that's he's done. But on the other hand, with Michael Jackson, like I still don't believe it. And even when Dave said it on stage, I was like, I just don't believe it, because the kid, I remember this article. The kid had come out and said, I lied after he'd passed. I lied for money for me and my mum. So yeah, I know. Also, I didn't watch the actual documentary. So maybe there's...
Same, I didn't watch it.
It's on Netflix at the moment. I think it's recently added.
Okay.
What was the album you were thinking of?
Oh, the album... Okay, today the album would be Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z from 1996. His first one. Yeah, it'll probably be that.
Nice. And then last question. So this is a question we actually ask every guest. And that is, what has been your most memorable third wheeling experience?
It was strange, So I went on a double date one time at Warwick with like this other couple. And then In fact, no, I'm not going to say that stuff.
You don't have to
say
mention
names or anything.
Yeah, you don't have to say names.
No, he would know it's him. I don't want to do that to him. When have I third wheeled?
Can you tell us and just we'll cut it out?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you lot.
Those are too bad.
What have I don't think I've had a third wheeling experience. I try and avoid those experiences, actually.
Yeah.
As soon as I try and avoid double dates as well. I just think they're strange. It's like,
yeah, I can't imagine. I haven't been on a double date, but I can't imagine it being.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bit weird.
I think that's strange. It's like the girls are fine, they'll chat away, and then they're like, "Oh no, yeah, he likes football. He likes go and talk to each other. Both like football."
Yeah. So, hi, do you see Jesse Lingard on the weekend? Yeah.
Yeah. So who do you support?
Yeah. Cool. No, that's no worries. We can. If you avoid third wheeling experiences, that's all the better for you, to be honest.
I do 100%. I'm trying to avoid awkward interactions.
Yeah.
All right. The next section is a call out or a nomination, so you could choose one of many people to ideally, hopefully, come on the podcast in the future. Yeah. Who would you like to nominate?
I think Marcel Plummer would be good. He's went to Warwick as well, so keeping the tradition going.
Warwick need to sponsor us. That's what they need to do.
I actually met him when I was working on international development back at Warwick. He graduated before me. He's co-founded a company called Shaka Cuts. So it's using tech to connect barbers to customers. And I caught up with him not too long ago.
How does that? I guess if we get him on, he can explain it. But
I'll let him explain it. Yeah, man. I think he would be a good person to have on.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll give him a shout. And last bit's a shout out. So anything you just want to plug, promote, can be literally anything. Floor's yours.
What would I like to promote? Two things. If you're struggling with what to do with your career, pick up this book called Range or this TEDx talk. The premise of it is you have two ways of kind of going about things. You can go the Tiger Woods way, or you can go the Roger Federer way. Tiger Woods way is basically, which is basically like, what? No, not like that. Of course. You can stay committed or you can.
Yeah.
So basically, Tiger Woods, like, obviously he started golfing from like 2 years old. And then Roger Federer actually took on a bunch of sports and became good at like tennis later on in his life. He was always good at it, but he focused on tennis. So it basically expands on the idea of like building range over like picking something and going down that route. So I think that's the first thing. Second thing is my guy who I went to secondary school with is a music artist. His name is Zaire, which is actually the former name for where my roots are originally from. So Congo. Zaire. He just released an EP, which is, he's got quite a good catalogue of music, but this recent EP he released for his 25th birthday, really, really good. If you're into hip hop, if you're into like neo soul, so like sort of Common, Erykah Badu kind of feelings, Wale, stuff like that, American kind of version. But he's obviously from the UK, so that's the kind of vibe that I get from his music. Really good stuff.
Awesome. We'll put links to all that stuff in the description too. And I was going to say the Tiger Woods thing. I watched. Have you seen the documentary Tiger on HBO? I think it's on Sky Go as well. And I didn't. I knew like bits, like some stuff about Tiger Woods, but I didn't realize like at 2 years old he was literally like his dad had him on like TV, like playing golf at 2 years old. Like I was. Yeah, it's mad. It's crazy. It's
bizarre. What would you guys do? Because I used to play football, right? And I was all right. I say this for a reason. I got scouted for a few clubs, but later on, like when I was like 14 or so. What would you do if your kid was super talented and academy was like, no, we want to take him at like 6 years old? And I ask this because I don't know if I would let my kid go, because it's almost like putting them in like, it's almost like when people leave prison, they don't want to leave prison because they don't know anything else outside of the prison they want to stay in. So when some kids kind of get released from clubs, Yeah, so what do you think about that? As in having kids in training from so young?
I would be down for that as long as they're still educated well, because they still need to learn a lot of things in life and have like other experience as well. So I wouldn't mind them like doing it part-time, or if it's like a weekend. I don't know how, that stuff works because I'm not too deep into football, but if it was like weekends or like, evenings or whatever, like it's a different story. As long as they still get educated quite well, because I don't know what they teach at the academy apart from football. So I'd want them to be just quite well educated as well. But I would let them chase that talent if obviously the opportunity arose.
My answer is if it's Liverpool, Man City, fuck that. If it's someone else, go for it, man. No, I don't. I think. I'd think. Thing is, I'd be gassed. I'd be gassed for my kid if they got scouted by like
I
a
would be
football
disappointed
team.
because it wasn't him.
I'd be a bit like, oh, that could have been me. No, and I assume my kid would be gassed as well. I assume they'd be like over the moon, and they'd be fuming if I was like, nah, I don't think you should.
My dad told me if we're watching the World Cup, and obviously when MBAPPE was doing the bits, he was like, yeah, if you were MBAPPE's age, I probably wouldn't have let you go.
What was MBAPPE's age when he went?
20, I think.
Okay.
As in, he wouldn't have let you go if you were 20?
Yeah. Aaron looked so confused. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
he scored goals in the World Cup final at 20 then.
Yeah, I think he's more concerned with the whole like Justin Bieber type story. Give the kids loads of money and then they'll get a bunch of tattoos and then fall off. But
yeah. I think you'd got to like. I don't know how it kind of works. Like with an academy, do they just like take them and like? It also depends on the relocation situation. Like, are they relocating like by themselves to like a different opposite end of the country, or even like a different country at like such a young age, and kind of I think you'd have to like look at like the education system at like the academies and stuff like that.
I really wish I used more of this episode to ask you guys questions, by the way.
No, it's right. My initial answer to that would be I would let them.
Okay.
That'd be my.
I just need to understand what they get educated with there. Like, that's all I need to understand. If it's satisfactory enough, or there's still time for them to get educated separately, I'm all down for it. Like, why not? Like, like if also like if the kid's like nah, then I'm like, if you're saying no, who am I to?
Don't you think you'd be asking yourself the question though? Like, if you didn't let them, like they might not get that chance.
I'll be like, we could be rich.
I want them to have all the opportunities that I couldn't in it, but I'm quite confident that I'll hopefully make it to a stage where I'll be fine enough where I don't need like their money. It will just at that point it's just a bonus, that's what I'm hoping for. But like it wouldn't matter to me. Like they could just go spend it on themselves, the next generation. It doesn't matter to me that much, like let them do at least something they like their entire life compared to chasing money as hard as I've been for it my entire life. I don't want it because I don't want it like, do you know what I mean? Like I always think like, shit, I could have been a cricketer if I had the money to, have the equipment and be able to play if I was allowed out, etc. Like I could have been, Lord knows, like many other things. Yeah, if the opportunity was given there, like, but it was never there. So
is cricket your sport?
No. When I was younger, it would have been, but I just didn't have the piece for it, or like even that I wasn't even allowed to go and play it. Like that's how mad it was. Apart from with my brothers, so like it was just a bit, it was basically like. When you grow up with so many restrictions because you don't just have it, and you don't have and it's not that the parents' fault, but they don't have the understanding of because obviously their life experience was very like, work from age 10 and 12, whatever.
So how did you fare with the amount of freedom that you got when you first got to Warwick?
When I got to Warwick, mate, I loved it. I didn't want to go home. I stayed at Warwick.
I stayed during Christmas.
Yeah, I stayed during Christmas. I stayed, well, not intentionally one time, but like, I wasn't against the idea of staying there the entire time. I was fine with it because I knew that when Warwick ends, I have a choice here. I could go for so I'll cut some of this out. I could go for just having a good life, but then leaving the fam behind, obviously here, which isn't doable for anyone who comes up like that. Like it's not a feasible option. But if I come here and put myself through shit for X amount of years and get them out, then it works better for everyone. It would just be at the cost of me. Like that's the only expense there. So
I get the impression that, so it's interesting because how before we were talking so much about social impact and stuff like that. It's such a balance between that and not coming from wealth. because I'm in the same situation as you, Hamish. It's like what you're doing is actually to really support your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm reading it wrong. And it's like you could go off and just be like, I'm going to rent somewhere nice and near central London or whatever. But it's like, you know, it's not. At the end of the day, like, it is what it is. So it's funny. And I say this to say, like, it's interesting because last 2 nights ago, I was on the phone to another one of my friends who started this company called Weka, and it like sends money back to like companies to invest in Africa. And he was like, I'm in a situation now where like I'm trying to build capital to look after my family, and I see people around me at my age getting mortgages and stuff. So it's annoying sometimes. But then I was like to him equally, like, you need to remember a mortgage is a commitment, because that's 25 years, probably, if you don't put a big enough deposit down. Yeah. So it limits things that you can't just quit your job anymore.
So like that's what I'm obviously aiming to do, but it's just one of those situations that, like, so right now I'm in a bunk bed in the living room. I'm like, at this age, after you go Warwick, after you experience that freedom, like even my friends were like to me, don't do it, don't go back, just live out. But I was like, you know, financial sense and not leaving the family behind is like, it makes sense for me to come back and do this as much as I can.
So is your objective to save up enough money to buy the family house?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, obviously I'll live with them in the initial mortgage one. Then if I can do it right, this one would be put out to rent, and then this one would pay its own mortgage off, and then happily ever after, like the family would be in a way better position than wherever we started. But obviously,
are you close to doing that?
I would say it's possible, depending on. It depends on a lot of things when you're going to get the house in it. Like, because currently the aim is to probably do it solo, just by myself, my first time buyer's bonus. But it's not simple. Like, there's a lot of expenditure that you have to consider when. Yeah. So like building up the capital, and then I changed basically all my backup funds into the primary thing. And I was like to my brother, you stay as the backup fund, and then anything over this amount, move it towards the house, and then I'll pay you back for it in the future, because this would get us all out. You'd have more space as well. And obviously my other brother my youngest brother just went to uni, lived out now. And obviously I was like to him, like, you know, I get it if you want to live out all 3-4 years, but if you need financial help to do it, if you can't get enough, because they don't do bursaries anymore, you know. So I'm like, just let me know. And then that way I can give you a separate, like, you know, amount per year.
Yo, I'm maxed out my student loan. So you have 3, there's 3 of you, you have 2 other siblings?
Yeah, 2 siblings.
And you're the oldest?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I obviously don't want them to have that financial burden that obviously I would have. So I'm just like, no matter what, do what you like. Doesn't matter if you don't get paid as much. Because like my other brother that's working, he does something he likes, but it's obviously at the expense of not, you know, earning as much as I would. Not saying I don't like what I do. But yeah, go on.
Okay. That's interesting. Are you in northwest London, Hamish?
Yep.
What, Harrow?
I'm like, you know, Wembley, Stonebridge Park area?
Okay, I'm Stanmore. So do you reckon you'd be looking to stay in?
That's the issue, right? Because I would want to take us out of here, but I understand that, for example, both my parents can't move away because of the community and the, you know, the family and all the local high street where they do all their shopping. So I'm like, that's all adds so much restraint, because finding a minimum 3-bedroom, because you could maybe convert the 4th in later on, or just 4th. What is it? A 4-bedroom house, like for 450k in this region, bro. You have to be on mad crud. Like, there's not usually, and I don't want to move further into Stonebridge, innit?
You're looking at Essex or
It's possible, but I have to like snatch at the right time and have to hope I have the right amount of capital available, and obviously everything. But it's basically working on a madness right now. But it is what it is, isn't it?
We should have started with this. We should have started with this conversation. Cool.
Yeah. What was it? What was the next section? Shout. We're on Shoutout right now. Oh yeah. So I guess my shout is going to be RV's latest mixtape, Rico Vondel. It's quite a good story throughout if you want to listen to it.
That came out this week, isn't it?
Yeah. It came out 2 days ago. At the time of recording. There's another one that released as one other album, but I'm going to save that for tomorrow's episode because I need something to shout.
Hard. I've been so my UK guys are, obviously I listened to Dave's new tracks 2 weeks ago, but my UK guys are the older lot. So Wretch.
Yeah, I love Wretch.
You love Wretch? Oh, yeah. Same. Wretch, Gets, Kano. Oh, you listen to Akala as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you know what's funny? I saw Akala, yeah. So the first time me and my girlfriend went on a date. We were in Soho eating. She was facing me and I was facing her. And then she looks over my shoulder and she goes, she was bare looking over my shoulder. I was like, what's, am I not?
You check it out.
Then,
Are her friends there for backup?
So then she goes, is that a caller? I looked over and I was like, yo, to him. And he was like, yo, I swear this dude was floating. Like, it's like his feet weren't even touching the ground. He was just like floating. It was like something out of a movie. He was just like, bless up. And I was like, nah, man, you're. I was like, nah, you're not real.
I remember when I saw Youngin in Banana Tree, and I was like, raw.
Banana Tree?
Yeah, I shit you not. Youngin was in Banana Tree.
Is that why you love it so much?
No. But like, I was just saying, like, it's just like mad, you see celebrities. You forget sometimes that they'll be at the same restaurant as you. Aaron, your shout?
Ooh, shout out. I don't have anything to shout out, so I'm just going to shout out Paul Pogba. Shutting down Mourinho. But,
oh, mate. Did you see Mourinho's response last night? He was like, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, but obviously he does. Obviously he does, man.
Is there a YouTube video or something I need to watch?
Yeah, I'll send you. But this episode is coming out in a little while, so maybe like Pogba's like fucking handed in a transfer request or something, so I might have to retract it at a time, but we'll see. Cool, awesome. We're at the end of the episode. Thanks so much, Jason, for coming on.
No problem, guys. It was fun. I appreciate the platform to air my thoughts.
And nice meeting you as well.
Yeah, meeting you at the end.
Yeah, it's been great. And yeah, hope everyone else enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you all next week. All right, see you guys.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.